Please be seated. Routine proceedings. Introduction of bills. I don't have a sheet. No. Committee reports. Tabling of reports. The Honourable Minister of Families.
May good Honourable Speaker, I'd like to table the sequence for the consideration of departmental estimates in the Committee of Supply.
Further tabling of reports. Ministerial statements. The Honourable Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This May marks a historic milestone for our province, the inaugural official celebration of Asian Heritage Month in Manitoba. For the first time, we come together to recognize and honour the countless contributions of Asian Manitobans to our shared history and future. This is more than a symbolic moment. It reflects our province's ongoing commitment to diversity, inclusion, and mutual respect. Asian Manitobans have played a vital role in shaping our communities, culturally, socially, and economically. From business owners and educators to healthcare professionals and artists, generations of Asian Manitobans have contributed immensely to the growth and richness of our province. We believe that diversity is not just something to be acknowledged. It must be actively celebrated, supported, and reflected in the policies we create and the communities we build. This moment of recognition was made possible by my colleague, the MLA for Fort Richmond. In 2024, as Manitoba's first Chinese Canadian member of the Legislative Assembly, she introduced Bill 212, the Asian Heritage Month Act, and with the unanimous support of the House, it became law on June 4th, 2024. In closing, Honourable Speaker, Asian Heritage Month is not only a time for celebration, it is also a time for reflection and commitment. It reminds us of the ongoing work needed to elevate Asian Canadian voices, dismantle systemic barriers, and ensure that every Manitoban feels seen, valued, and heard. Today, we honour the past, celebrate the present, and look forward to a more inclusive future. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Asian Canadians have a long and proud history of building our province and shaping our communities into what they are today. This month, we celebrate people of Asian descent among the pioneers and leaders of our great country and province. Over my lifetime, I have been blessed to meet countless people from the Asian Manitoba community who've made a home for Filipino, Punjabi, Chinese, Vietnamese, Arab, and many, many more diverse, profound cultures right here in Manitoba. The customs of respect, dedication, and perseverance are unmistakable across my experiences with the Asian Canadian communities. But most of all, no matter where I go, there is caring and loving embrace for everyone. I urge all Manitobans to embody the values of caring and love just a little more this Asian Heritage Month as communities across Canada grieve from the heartbreak that unfolded at the Lupa Lupa Filipino event in Vancouver. In the face of such incredible hardships, we should feel more encouraged than ever to stand with one another as Manitobans, as Canadians. To all those affected by the grave tragedy, we support you, we grieve with you, and we will move forward together with you. Thank you.
Member statements. The Honourable Member for Fort Richmond.
Honourable Speaker, as we are celebrating Asian Heritage Month, it is with immense pride and heartfelt gratitude that we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the cricket team of Bengal Tigers Club, a remarkable milestone that speaks not only to the club's longevity, but to its unwavering commitment to building communities through the unifying power of sports. Founded 2 decades ago, the Bengal Tigers Club has been a beacon of hope and a pillar of strength for our community, especially in areas like Fort Richmond, where diversity and inclusion are at the heart of community life. With a passion for sports, the club has successfully bridged the cultural gaps and fostered a sense of belonging among people from diverse backgrounds. Recognizing the South Asian community's love for cricket and other sports, the club has dedicated itself to promoting sportsmanship, excellence, and professionalism among children, youth, women, and seniors. The club's impact extends beyond the playing field in Fort Richmond. By celebrating culture and encouraging awareness, the Bengal Tigers Club has helped newcomers connect, integrate, and thrive in their new home, including many families living in Fort Richmond. Equally commendable is the club's focus on youth development, offering opportunities for skill building, confidence, and leadership from a young age. As the community matures, the club has thoughtfully expanded its programming to include seniors, promoting active lifestyles and improving health outcomes for older adults. I have seen firsthand how families in Fort Richmond have benefited from this inclusive and community-driven approach. Honorable Speaker, the Bengal Tigers Club is a shining example of how grassroots efforts can create lasting and meaningful change. I invite my colleagues to join me in congratulating the Bengal Tigers Club on this important milestone. I also ask that the names of the honored guests in the gallery today be included in Hansard. Guests Abu, Maruf, Muhammad, Shamsu, Arifin, Zafur, and Faisal. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie.
As we all know, local community and recreation clubs are important because they foster a sense of belonging, provide opportunities for people to gather, and contribute to the overall well-being of the community. In Portage-La Prairie, the Cocoa Platts Rec Club has provided services including an outdoor rink, a playground, and a community club since the 1980s. Unfortunately, in 2021, the club was destroyed by fire. New board members with a new mission began fundraising for a new and improved Cocoa Platts Rec Club. In 2023, the redesign of the club began and construction started in the summer of 2024. This July, the building will be complete, and next winter, skating will resume for the first time in 5 years. What makes this project so remarkable is the original fundraising goal of $500,000 was surpassed by almost $200,000 thanks to the generosity of the community and the tireless efforts of the board. Many of these board members are young adults who spent time at the Cocoa Platts Center and are now raising their own children near the club. People like Julianne Taves-Dewis, Colby Orchard, Brandwin Kinnear, Caitlin Coates, Tanner Waldvogel, Sarah Proctor, and others have taken the reins so their children's children and the entire community of Portage-La Prairie now has a place to gather and play and to connect with others no matter what the season. Sarah and Brandwin are here with us today, along with their daughter, with us today representing the board of the Cocoa Platts Rec Club. And I'd invite you all to join me in saluting Sarah, Brandwin, and the rest of the board on a job well done.
Prior to proceeding with member statements, there's some guests in the gallery I'd like to introduce. We have seated in the public gallery from Woodlawn School, 80 grade 3 and 4 students under the direction of Simi Gandhi, and this group is located in the constituency of the Honourable Member for Steinbach. We welcome you all here today. The Honourable Member for Kildonan River East.
Honourable Speaker, located on Henderson Highway right here in Kildonan River East, the Movement Centre of Manitoba is a registered charity that has been teaching independence and transforming lives for 28 years. It provides specialized conductive education and occupational therapy programming to help individuals living with neuromotor disabilities increase their mobility, confidence, and independence in activities of daily living. I've had the opportunity to tour the centre twice to learn from the hardworking clients and staff, including the Executive Director, Jennifer Wochuk, who is with us here today in the gallery. The family-like environment at the centre can be felt the moment you walk through the door. Over 100 clients and families access the centre's programs each year. The centre serves clients of all ages, from infants to older adults who are living with neuromotor disabilities, including cerebral palsy, developmental delays, spina bifida, acquired brain injuries, stroke, multiple sclerosis, and Parkinson's disease. The Movement Centre helps clients improve, build, and regain life abilities, including skills such as fine and gross motor, self-care, cognitive speech, and communication, social and emotional self-esteem, confidence, and motivation. Personal connections, friendships, and support are integral to the centre's capacity. This life-changing work is only made possible by the centre's incredible community, relying on the generous support of their clients, families, donors, sponsors, and community partners. On June 22nd, the Movement Centre's 7th annual Pierogi Run will be held at Kildonan Park. This All Abilities Wheel, Walk, Run event is one of the largest fundraising initiatives for the centre, raising over $600,000, all of which goes directly to the programming. I was so honored to attend last year, and I invite all of you to support this year's event. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Steinbach.
Honourable Speaker, this summer from June 3rd to the 5th, the City of Steinbach will welcome more than 1,000 people for the Manitoba 55+ Games. While the Games kicked off the curling event in March, the majority of the competitions will be held in June, with events ranging from bridge to baseball to timed walking. This year's Games will also feature events in the recently opened Southeast Events Centre. The beautiful new centre, which was supported by all levels of government and significant private investment, is a state-of-the-art facility for both sports and social gatherings. The Games are being led by Committee Chair Audrey Harder and by the Pat Porter Active Living Centre. They will require hundreds of volunteers to make the Games a success, but Steinbach and the region are well known for giving both their time and their financial resources for important causes. Much has changed since Steinbach last held the 55+ Games in 2011. In addition to the new Southeast Events Centre, there are a number of new facilities that participants will be able to enjoy. As well, while I was much too young as the MLA to participate in 2011, this year I qualify in age, if not athletic ability. But some things haven't changed since Steinbach last hosted. The Manitoba 55+ Games are still about much more than competition. They're about friendship and encouraging all Manitobans of all ages to stay active. They're about Manitoba's collective sense of community. And like in 2011, Steinbach will enthusiastically welcome all of the visitors and make them feel at home. I want to thank all of the event organizers and volunteers for the work they put into hosting this year's Games, and invite all of my colleagues in the Legislature to visit Steinbach in June for the Manitoba 55+ Summer Games.
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today I rise to commemorate an important day, not only my constituency of Kiiwetinoong, but for every Manitoban. Red Dress Day serves to remind all of us of the ongoing crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit persons. As people gathered on Red Dress Day, I am reminded that this day of remembrance was inspired by Métis artist Jamie Black, who created the Red Dress Project in 2010. The artists hung red dresses on trees, statues, and doorways to highlight the absence felt by families and friends of those who went missing. Since the last installation of the exhibit in 2011, the artist has collected hundreds of donated red dresses, which are hung to bring awareness to the issue. Inspired by the powerful and moving artwork put on every day by Jamie, communities began to organize Red Dress Day every May the 5th. Communities come together to raise awareness about the prevalence of violence against Indigenous women, girls, and gender diverse persons, and how often their missing persons cases are left ignored and unsolved. On this day, we come together to mourn the impact felt by the violence against our relatives. Our aunties, sisters, daughters, mothers, cousins, and grandmothers deserve the ability to live life freely without worrying about violence and without worrying if anyone would care if they went missing. Taking care of those around you is central to a safe and happy community, and it is a responsibility to look after our relatives. Honorable Speaker, it is imperative that Red Dress Day and the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit persons is not just an issue of our women and Two-Spirit relatives to bring forth. It is a societal issue that is the responsibility of us all, and therefore it is an issue for all Manitobans and all Canadians to talk about and address every day. This Red Dress Day, I stand before the House to express my sorrow and my support for those who have been affected by missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit persons. I know that there are families, not only in my constituency of Kiiwetinoong, who have experienced such a significant loss, but all across Turtle Island. And I ask for leave for a moment of silence for all members to remember those who are no longer with us. Miigwech, Honorable Speaker.
Is there leave for a moment of silence? Leave has been granted. Thank you. Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Yesterday, Manitobans learned that this Premier is sad and lamented that no one congratulated him in 2017. But that is simply not true. On October 5th, 2017, the current member from Interlake Gimli congratulated him in this very chamber. So, on my second day as the Leader of the Opposition, I stand and congratulate the now Premier for being handpicked by Greg Selinger to be the next Leader of the NDP in 2017. Now that that's out of the way, and the Premier has had 24 hours to think about the questions I asked yesterday, which he did not answer, I'll ask them again. Manitoba is ranked dead last in GDP growth under this Premier and his NDP government. What are his GDP growth rates for Manitoba this year?
The Honourable First Minister.
Well, that didn't last long, did it? And Honourable Speaker, you were here yesterday when the member opposite was heckling the amazing Minister of Sport, Culture, Heritage and Tourism. Didn't even manage to make it through 40 minutes after that new day. And by the way, new day in Manitoba, a message on healthcare and affordability, unity for all people in this province. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and indeed, I am flattered. However, when it comes to the economy, the biggest threat we're facing right now is from Donald Trump. I was pleased to see Prime Minister Carney in the Oval Office tell Mr. Trump that Canada will never be for sale. That's right. We will never be the 51st state. Why did the member opposite thank Donald Trump? Well, I would very much like to hear him explain why.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
So once again, Honourable Speaker, Manitoba, you can see a clear answer, a clear question to the Premier, no answer. He refuses to answer the simple questions in this chamber. It is your right as Manitobans to know what are his GDP growth targets. Instead, what does he want to do? Put false information on the record. He wants to attack and he wants to bully just like he has always done. So I'll ask him again, Honourable Speaker. The entire NDP budget is built on the premises that there will be record income tax and business tax collected. Can he not simply answer the question? If he can't tell Manitobans what his targets are, will he at least tell Manitobans where is this increased tax revenue coming from?
Here, here.
The Honourable First Minister.
We're going to grow the economy. It's the only way that makes sense, by investing in you, the people of Manitoba. And I just feel so much joy being able to work with you, the people. $3.7 billion in infrastructure so that Manitobans in hard hats and steel toes can go to work every day building up this province we love. When it comes to GDP targets, we want to be a have province. That's right. That means increasing our real GDP per capita to above the national level in the coming years. That is something that the PCs never had their eye on. Nope. When the member opposite was in government, 8% inflation. Wow. Ever since we've been in government, inflation has been during the Bank of Canada target range. So, Manitobans, business owners, what do you prefer? 8% inflation under the PCs or staying within the Bank of Canada's target range under us? Plus, with us, you get somebody who will stand up to Donald Trump every day, not suck up like the member opposite.
There we go.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
There you have it once again, Manitoba. Bullying and name-calling by this Premier. And if anyone wants to suck up, there's only one person in this chamber who has rubbed shoulders with a billionaire, thanked them, and then given them $1 million of your taxpayer dollars. Who was that? This Premier with Elon Musk, your Honourable Speaker. Premier seems to think he's immune from answering the questions. No answer on GDP target. No answer on how he's going to grow the economy. If the Premier won't answer those questions and he's going to hide his secret target for GDP growth, will he at least tell us? Manitobans have a right to know how high will the deficit grow under this Premier and his careless NDP government?
Here, here.
The Honourable First Minister.
You know, the people of Manitoba deserve answers. That's something they never got under the PCs. But every day that we've been in office, we've been very straight up with you. We're fixing health care. Yeah. We're making life affordable. That's right. That's why we're reopening emergency rooms that were closed under the PCs. And that's why we're hiring nurses who were let go under the PCs. And that's why we cut the gas tax. It's lower at a permanent level than it ever was under the PCs. Right. What else do we do in office, Honourable Speaker? Well, we're repairing that PC deficit, $2 billion. Wow. So how high would the deficit get? The member opposite was sitting at the cabinet table when it reached record levels. Yep. And now that he's in opposition, what did we learn in the media today? Well, the PC party itself has a record deficit of almost $700,000. So please keep asking about deficits because the member opposite has no credibility when it comes to the books.
That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a new question.
Honourable Speaker, Manitobans are worried about paying their bills. They're worried about putting food on their table. They're worried about getting by day to day. And this Premier still refuses to answer questions in this chamber for you, Manitobans. Yesterday, my colleague, the member from Midland, put some incredible powerful facts on the record. The NDP government is refusing to support our call to remove interprovincial trade barriers. She brought forward Bill 227, the Free Trade and Mobility Within Canada Act, and this NDP government and Premier voted it down. The Premier is depriving Manitobans of a massive economic growth potential at a time we need it most. The new Prime Minister has even committed to getting rid of interprovincial trade barriers by Canada Day. Will the Premier today commit to support Bill 227 and the dismantling of interprovincial trade barriers by Canada Day, yes or no?
Here, here.
The Honourable First Minister.
Yes, we're dismantling interprovincial trade barriers. We're doing a great job, led by the amazing Minister of Business, Mining, Trade, and Job Creation. But really, it's everyone around the table who's pitching in. Something you never saw under the PCs. In fact, you didn't see it in their leadership just over a week ago. The members opposite somehow came together to have somebody who got less votes than the other guy become their leader. So perhaps the barriers that need to be brought down are those within the PC caucus between them and the rank and file membership of their party. But while they continue to ploy and play with division, we're about uniting all Manitobans and all Canadians. Yes, we're working to knock down interprovincial trade barriers. We're also working on nation-building projects that connect provinces and territories. Where do they stand on that? They criticize, they throw stones, they never built a thing in their lives. We're working together with you to build Manitoba and Canada while he continues to thank Donald Trump.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
And Manitobans, you'll notice, no details, no specifics, no dates. The question was, will the Premier commit to removing interprovincial trade barriers by Canada Day? Yes or no? He said yes. We're going to take that as he's going to get rid of them by Canada Day. If trade barriers aren't the barrier, then is it that they don't want to get rid of the NDP-created artificial barriers and red tape? Because that's what Bill 227 calls for. So point blank, does the Premier support streamlining the approval process to remove artificial barriers and red tape, supporting interprovincial trade barriers, and will he support Bill 227 today by Canada Day? Yes or no?
Here, here.
The Honourable First Minister.
We don't need to wait for Hansard to come out tomorrow. That's right. To know that I said yes on the first one. Not only is it going to happen by July 1st, when we get to Canada Day, I'll be waving that Canadian flag so hard, saying, I love this country. Here, here. We'll never be the 51st state. We'll always be the true north, strong and free. And what will the member opposite have to say to Canadians who want us to stand together against the threat of Donald Trump's? Well, let me check my notes here. Yeah, what do you say? Apparently it says, on the 25% tariff threat, his exact words, and I quote, I would say thank you. What? I would say thank you. Why? End quote. Wow. Well, perhaps we'll get an answer for whether or not he's going to continue the love fest with Donald Trump by Canada Day. Will he share his answer now? Yes or no?
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
Manitobans, it's very telling what the Premier just did right there. When did he choose to end the quote? Before the quote was actually over. His own member, the member from Order. Said, thank you, he's gone. Who was I referring to in that quote? His best friend, Justin Trudeau. Thank you, Justin Trudeau is gone. The Premier purposely chose to leave that out. The Premier purposely chose to leave that out. Honourable Speaker.
Order. Order. The government bench needs to quiet down. I can't hear the question. I'm sure you can't either. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Once again, you can see the childlike behavior, the bullying by the NDP, and they're doing it again. And they're doing it again, Honourable Speaker. I'm sure you can hear that. So the question again is simple. Will the Premier support Bill 227? The member from Midland has already brought it forward. It's already ready to go. Why will he not support Bill 227? He has a chance today. Yes or no? Will he support Bill 227 and get rid of interprovincial trade barriers?
Here, here.
The Honourable First Minister.
No, we won't. The work is already happening. But let's talk about Canada. Yeah. The member opposite in his answer there, here's what he's saying his defense for thanking Donald Trump is, and I just want you to follow the logic. He wants our democratically elected former Prime Minister to be removed by a foreign power. Yeah. Wow. That's our democracy. That's what our veterans stood up for. Yeah. And he wants to be threatened by a foreign leader, to have the votes of Canadians and Manitobans ignored. We will never be the 51st state, and we will never allow foreign leaders to determine our democracy. Of course, on the members' opposite side, what do? Well, they allow the person with fewer votes to lead their movement. And in fact, I believe it's the person with the least amount of donations on their side of the house as well, too. We noticed that the member opposite donated $646.25. The 25 cents, a remarkable act of generosity, but it didn't bring them up to even half of what the average donation
Member's time
is.
has expired. The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie.
Honourable Speaker, China has imposed a 100% tariff on both canola meal and oil. These were large markets for Manitoba canola growers. Honourable Speaker, will the minister provide the dollar value of this lost canola business to Manitoba?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And let me first start off by thanking all agriculture producers in the province of Manitoba. There we go. Not only do we have challenges for agriculture producers, the hard work they do with China, but also our neighbors to the south. And I think we don't need to resignate the importance of the member opposite, of his choice of supporting Mr. Trump and encouraging the tariffs that are being proposed. Our government, our producers are challenged today with the hard work they do, and the canola growers will eventually have to be heard, and we will.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, the people of Manitoba and the farmers deserve to know, so let me help the minister with the answer that he has not answered. Manitoba exported $938 million worth of canola oil and meal to China. Manitoba is now locked out of that business. Honourable Speaker, what countries will these Manitoba farmers be able to sell their nearly $1 billion worth of canola to? Who will it be?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And yes, there are challenging times for agriculture producers across Canada. There's no doubt. But also the reality is that the decisions that are made are beyond our control. We are patiently awaiting the federal agriculture minister and the government to get in tune how we can continue to support our agriculture producers, the canola growers. And a prime example as the Ag Stability Program, business risk insurance programs are in place, and we will continue to work for the betterment of agriculture producers across Canada, across Manitoba, and I know fair well, member opposite knows darn well, we as a government look after our agriculture producers, not only today, but into the futures for the betterment of food production.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, I just want to point out, did anybody hear a country there? No. Honourable Speaker, Enns Brothers employs over 350 people across Manitoba. They now face 25% tariffs on their equipment sales. Has the minister had his staff determine the impact of these tariffs on Enns Brothers, one of our great employers in Manitoba? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And it's quite ironic that the member opposite the critic would somewhat be talking about a 25% tariff. Maybe reach over to the left and maybe make a nudge to the member opposite that sits there, the one that supports the tariffs of the U.S. and improves in Trump's believing. So I'm going to ask the member opposite from Portage-La Prairie, are you in support of your
Order, please. Order, please. I remind the minister he's got to direct his questions through the chair, not directly at members opposite. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
I guess my question finally is the critic from Portage-La Prairie in sync
Member's
with
time
the
has expired. The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The minister has expanded the moose tags this year for in the northern part of the province. This decision is one generally made after studying population counts. Will the minister make this data public?
The Honourable Minister of the Honourable Minister of Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It gives me a great opportunity to talk about the moose hunting that goes on in the province of Manitoba, something that members opposite totally ignored. They did nothing but shame Indigenous hunters across all of Manitoba, try to pit Manitobans against each other time and time again. What do? We do things with a scientific-based approach, and we're going to take that to Indigenous communities, and we're going to have that consultation across all of Manitoba, because that's the right thing to do.
The Honourable Member for Swan River on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Historically, this data has been made public so that Manitobans could follow along themselves and ensure that conservation and responsible hunting is taking place. Why is this minister refusing to be public with the counts?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Historically, Manitobans have been engaged across all aspects of moose hunting in the province. Members opposite, 7 years, did not do that. So they talk about historical treatment of hunters here in Manitoba. That's something they ignored each and every day, and they're failed 7.5 years. So what are we doing? We're taking a real solid approach to how we do this. So when we come time enhance moose surveys to be able to come to the table with accurate figures for the province of Manitoba when it comes time to moose hunting.
The Honourable Member for Swan River on a final supplementary question.
No answer on what's happening in the north, perhaps in my local area. We have a collapsing moose population in the Duck and Porcupine Mountains. Will the minister update population numbers and share moose management plans for this fall?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And perhaps if calls to the member's MLA office didn't directly go to voicemail, he'd have an answer when it comes time to being able to respond to his constituents, because each and every day they ask us on a daily basis, right from when we formed government, how come we didn't have engagement? How come the PCs did not engage us when it comes time to moose management and management of our natural resources? And I honestly don't have an answer for them as to how, or the rationale as to why they did that, because for us, we take a different approach. Collaborative, science-based approach to natural resource management here in Manitoba.
Hey, great answer.
The Honourable Member for Borderland.
This PC team supports Manitoban and Canadian businesses, and many manufacturers proudly operate in my constituency and in our neighbouring communities. What is the status of the minister's Buy Canadian policy, and when will it be revealed to the public?
The Honourable Minister, Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I have to thank the member for that question. Our government is listening government. We are listening to Manitobans, and we are listening to the business community, and we will always prioritize Manitobans and Canadian jobs first. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Borderland on a supplementary question.
The minister should be able to communicate to Manitobans exactly what his government is planning. They've talked a big game. I'm giving him the opportunity to back it up. When will the minister provide the actual details of a Buy Canadian policy?
The Honourable Minister of Public Service Delivery.
Honourable Speaker, as I said earlier, our government is a listening government. We are listening to Manitobans. We are listening to the business community, and our whole front bench and the back bench, everyone is out in the community listening to the Manitobans. I will want to make sure member from Borderland, stay tuned.
The Honourable Member for Borderland on a final supplementary question.
Well, that's a disappointing answer. We're now months into a trade war. It's been 2 months since the minister first introduced the bill. Either the minister has neglected to do the work, or he is refusing to share it with Manitobans. Why would the minister suppress this important policy from Manitobans? What is the specific date that the minister will release this policy to Manitobans?
The Honourable Minister of Public Service Delivery.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Our job is to listening to Manitobans and to make sure delivering on their priorities.
unlike my member opposite and official leader of opposition, who thanked Trump for putting the tariff on Canadians. To our jobs, we're like, again, my main focus, our government's main focus is protecting Manitoba jobs and Manitoba economy. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The honourable member for Agassiz.
Yesterday, I asked the Minister of Families when she would release a report that was promised over a year ago. Manitobans have lost faith in her government and want to read it themselves. Instead, the minister talked about herself. When is the minister going to release this information to Manitobans?
The honourable Minister of Family.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. If the member opposite would care to learn her job, she would know, and do a little bit more research, she would know that by law, I'm not able to release that report. Juliet Hastings has that report, and her lawyer has that report, and that's all that's going to get it.
The honourable member for Agassiz on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Instead, the family wants to make a personal attack on me here. But more concerningly, yesterday, the minister confirmed that Juliet Hastings, a grieving mother, had to undertake legal action to gain even partial access to a report that the Premier promised to make public. Why did the minister think it was appropriate to suppress this document to the point it required legal intervention?
The honourable Minister of Families.
It allows me to get up today again just to reflect on one of my answers yesterday, and that was that we went on the year anniversary to Carmen. And as I was starting to share that each and every one of the folks that were in attendance on that very, very cold night, of which I didn't see the member there and now wants to get up in the chamber today, but I think it's so important that every single member that spoke about the family talked about how loving the family were to one another, and that Maya was a big sister to all of those siblings. You know, Carmen is a tragedy. It will go down as one of Manitoba's biggest tragedy in respect of intimate partner violence. Our government is committed to ending intimate partner violence, and that's what we're doing.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Agassiz on a final supplementary question.
The Premier said the whole document would be made public. The minister disagreed. Now instead, Manitobans get no information. We are asking about a report that was promised over a year ago. Will the minister release the recommendations from the report?
The honourable Minister of Family.
No, I won't, but what I can assure the members opposite is that we are already actioning the recommendations that were found in that report almost immediately. And what I'll also remind the member opposite is that I'm the one that ordered the Section 4 review, because we take the protection of children very, very seriously. And to that end, we've also put money where our mouth is. We've increased, we've got $13.7 million to help women escape intimate partner violence. We've got $20 million in Minoa-Weaki-Quayak, of which we are building transitional shelters, 24/7 safe spaces, drop-in safe spaces. We are doing the work to prioritize protections
time has expired. The honourable member for Tyndall Park.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Manitoba has been losing more young people to other provinces than it's gaining. According to recent statistics, over 3,500 Manitobans left the province last year for job opportunities in provinces like BC and Alberta. This government promised to create 10,000 new Manitoba jobs and reverse this trend, but recent data suggests that Manitoba's job numbers have plateaued. What is this government doing differently to ensure that young Manitobans and skilled professionals see a future for themselves here?
The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I thank member opposite for that important question. It is important for Manitobans to understand how we're providing more opportunities for young people. After 7.5 years of a government that turned their backs on young people and provided less opportunities, our government is changing course. I think one of the primary ways is by investing in youth's education and their ability to complete high school. One of the chief pillars of that policy is to make sure that we feed kids in schools. And so I'm very proud about our nutrition program, universal nutrition program in schools, that is going to help kids and more young people get educated, make it to their grade 12, and give them the tools to succeed in our education system and in our labor force for years and years to come. Thank you.
The honourable member for Tyndall Park on a supplementary question.
Honorable Speaker, one fundamental strategy to fill job vacancies is to support newcomers. However, internationally trained professionals continue to face delays and barriers when it comes to credential recognition. What steps is this government taking to speed up credential recognition to better fill Manitoba's labor gaps?
The Honourable Minister of Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It's my pleasure to get up, I think, for the first time here in a very, very long time. Part of my mandate letter as Immigration Minister was to remove unfair barriers to credential recognition, beginning with internationally educated health professions. And this is something that we've been doing with a whole of government approach. We've even instituted a nursery entry program that's the first of its kind. And we're seeing graduates already from this nursery entry program. And we're going to be expecting about 80 of them, or 80 new nurses by the end of this year. And it's going to be my pleasure to be there along with our health minister, our advanced education minister, and our jobs minister there at graduation day for these nurses. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The honourable member for Tyndall Park on a final supplementary question.
Honorable Speaker, Manitoba's economy has long depended on traditional sectors, yet we are way behind Alberta and BC in many critical sectors, everything from technology and innovation to green energy to hospitality. Manitobans deserve to know if this government is delivering. Will this government commit to releasing a quarterly public report on the progress of their job creation commitments, including metrics on outmigration and sector-specific growth?
The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
I thank the member opposite for that important question. We are certainly taking very significant steps to increasing not only the ability for more Manitobans to have the education and the tools to take advantage of the job opportunities, but creating more opportunities right here in manufacturing, in information technology, in aerospace, in biotech. These are incredible fields we have in Manitoba. And it's all powered by a great Manitoba economy and so many great business leaders. That's why it's concerning for me to hear when members opposite make thanks to the tariffs that are threatening the business community here in Manitoba. And quite frankly, I think that has no place here in our Manitoba business community. And so I think this is an opportunity for members opposite to get up and say that they actually don't want to thank Donald Trump unless they actually do.
The honourable member for Radisson.
For 2 terms of a PC government, emergency departments across rural Manitoba were cut and closed one by one. Emergency departments in Carberry, St. Rose, Roblin, and Pine Falls all saw doors close or significant operational reductions. On top of that, these same PCs closed 3 major emergency departments in Winnipeg. They did all of this with zero consultation with Manitobans, Honourable Speaker. While members opposite thank Donald Trump and his attacks on North American democracy, we are protecting your right to weigh in on critical services like emergency care. Can the Minister of Health please share with the House how our government is working with and listening to communities in Manitoba to ensure that they have a voice at the table?
Great question.
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
I want to thank my colleague from Radisson for introducing Bill 216, which makes it clear that no health authority can close a hospital, emergency room, or a health centre in a region without being approved in a plebiscite by Manitobans in that region. We're proud to say that our government has never closed a single emergency department. In fact, Honourable Speaker, we are opening the emergency emergency rooms that were closed under 2 terms of a failed PC administration. We've heard how the PC cuts and closures have hurt Manitobans. We are listening to Manitobans, and we're reminding them that their voices are at the table, and our government works for each and every single Manitoban in every corner of our great province.
The honourable member for Roblin.
In February 2024, the Minister of Health told the media that Manitobans could soon expect a brand new wait times tracking website. It's been 15 months.
Nope.
Where is the website?
The honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Honourable Speaker, one has to wonder, where the member opposite stands on healthcare. She sits next to a leader of the opposition that she supported going door to door to door, selling memberships on his behalf, when he told Manitobans that he would privatize, create a 2-tier American-style healthcare system if it were up to him. The leader opposite has thanked Donald Trump for the tariffs that are hurting our healthcare system. Where does the member for Roblin stand on that?
The honourable member for Roblin on a supplementary question.
I asked the Minister of Health a simple question about a promise they made to the media 15 months ago. They promised that Manitobans would know where they are on the wait list for diagnostic tests and surgeries. It's been 15 months. Where is the website?
The honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Honourable Speaker, that member is well aware that our government has made massive investments in strengthening healthcare right here at home, creating a centralized platform, SWIMS, to make sure that Manitobans have clarity on where they are in the waitlist process for different procedures. And that work continues to make it even better and even stronger for all Manitobans. We've invested millions of dollars in creating thousands more surgeries right here in our own province. But if it were up to the member for Roblin, we'd be sending Manitobans to California for care that they should be getting right here at home. So I'll ask again, does that member support Donald Trump and 2-tier American-style health care, or does she stand with Canadians and stand with Manitobans?
The honourable member for Roblin on a final supplementary question.
I think it's clear that what happened is the minister made an ad hoc promise to the media while under pressure and has nothing to back it up. It's a simple question. The minister should be able to answer it. They made the promise to media 15 months ago that Manitobans would know where they are on wait lists. Where is the website?
The honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Honourable Speaker, in addition to a novel and an important platform, SWIMS, that has centralized the wait list for procedures and surgeries in this province, we're going further than that. We've invested in remarkable technology right here in our province. For the first time, we have a robot, a surgical robot, performing surgeries right here in our province. As a result, we've recruited new surgeons, new nurses, and allied healthcare professionals to the front lines. We're investing in making sure that Manitobans get the care they need faster in their own province. The member opposite and the leader to her right would soon see Manitobans go out of our country for care they deserve to get here at home. We won't take that approach, and we will not take lessons from someone who doesn't stand for Manitobans and Canadians.
The honourable member for Riding Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This government may have finally acknowledged the danger aquatic invasive species pose. How many inspection and decontamination sites will the province fund this year?
The Honourable Minister for Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It gives me great pleasure to announce that we are investing with communities $540,000 more to combat aquatic invasive species. And one of the things that we're doing is that we are working with community. We are working with Indigenous leaders and Indigenous communities. We're working with municipalities. That's why AMM was with us during our announcement. We have great working partnership with them. We're so happy to continue that work each and every day.
The honourable member for Riding Mountain on a supplementary question.
Well, thank you to the Minister for confirming this government's dollar amount they're investing this year. However, this government's entire province-wide initiative is $540,000, whereas Ottawa budgeted $810,000 for the Clear Lake curtain that failed almost immediately.
Why is this minister allocating less for our entire province than the federal government did for one doomed project?
The Honourable Minister for Environment and Climate Change.
Let me clarify for the critic, because he seems to be mistaken. We are actually spending, that was a $540,000 increase in our budget. And it's actually a $1.2 million investment this year. So thank you very much. We're doing better than anything members opposite ever did.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain on a final
Last year, the minister
supplementary
refused to
question.
commit to added water testing and public reporting. Manitobans deserve to know the health of our waterways. Will he tell the public today?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Sorry, I'm a little confused. Will I tell the public what today? I'm not exactly sure. That's not exactly a clear question. What I will say is we're taking a science-based approach where we listen to scientists, where we listen to the experts. Right now, the water temperature isn't quite high enough to do that testing. We will get that out to the public as soon as possible.
The Honourable Member for Waverley.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Frankly, I'm still reeling from the fact that the new Leader of the Opposition said he supports foreign interference, which is absolutely wild. But, you know, every day our government is taking steps to take patients' experiences better when accessing health care in Manitoba. We're improving accessibility for patients as we undo damage that was done by the previous government. Can the minister please tell the House, the Minister of Health, what kind of innovative investments they are making to help patients navigate our health care system?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
I want to thank my colleague for that really important question. Honourable Speaker, in the time it takes me to answer that great question, you could book an appointment in Brandon or in Winnipeg on our new MediNav application online. MediNav.ca helps guide patients to the best place to get the care they need in non-emergency situations. Just go to the site, create an account with your Manitoba Health Card number, share your concern, and it gives you a list of options of where you can get care same day, weekends, holidays, and evenings. Not only does this improve Manitoba's healthcare outcomes, but it makes sure that people are getting connected to primary care. We are making sure that Manitobans are getting care right here in our own province, close to home.
The Honourable Member for Midland.
Honourable Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition asked this Premier a very simple question about supporting Bill 227 to remove inter-provincial trade barriers. This Premier said, no, we won't. If the legislation is good enough for Nova Scotia, it's good enough for PEI, and it's good enough for Ontario, why is it not good enough for Manitoba? Does this Premier truly stand with Canada as a united country and province, and will he remove inter-provincial trade barriers and support 227 today, yes or no?
Here, here. The Honourable First Minister.
Why? Because Manitobans deserve the best. And that's what we're doing. We're giving Manitobans the best approach for knocking down internal trade barriers. Now, we're not seeing the best from the members opposite. As the front bench passes Mentos back and forth, I want to also point out that the Leader of the Opposition was heckling throughout question period today. So day 2, try again tomorrow. I will say, try again this year, perhaps, when it comes to donations. When you donate $646.25, as the member opposite did to the PCs, it shows maybe you're not a true believer. Maybe you don't really believe in that political project that you're a part of. Of course, the MLAs opposite, they only donated $1,100 average across all of those seats. Who donated more? Wale, our buddy, $5,500 minimum in the Brandon debate. He called on all of them to donate more. Honourable Speaker, I think we found out why they didn't want Wally to be their leader.
The time for oral questions has expired, and just before we move on, there's some guests in the gallery I'd like to introduce. We have seated in the public gallery from Poplar Grove School 12 students under the direction of Jamie Penner, and this group is located in the constituency of the Honourable Member for Dauphin, the Honourable Minister of Agriculture. We welcome you here today. Petitions. Grievances. Orders of the day. The Honourable Government House Leader. Government business. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. Two things. Pursuant to Rule 34(7), I'm announcing the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Tuesday of private member's business will be one put forward by the Honourable Member for Fort Richmond. The title of the resolution is Protecting Women's Health in Manitoba. And can you also please resolve the House into Committee of Supply for the consideration of departmental estimates?
So it's been announced that pursuant to Rule 34(7) that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Tuesday of private member's business. Order, please. The next Tuesday of private member's business will be the one put forward by the Honourable Member for Fort Richmond. The title of the resolution is Protecting Women's Health in Manitoba. And at this point in time, before moving on, I have a leave request for the House. Last year, I asked the clerk and the Assembly staff to develop a process to allow for the live interpretation of languages spoken in this House other than English or French. I am pleased to report that the Assembly staff are now able to provide this service to members. Last week, I received a request from the Government Caucus to provide live interpretation of the Cree language for a statement to be given in this House on Thursday, May 8, 2025. I would note that this would be the first time in the 154 history of this Assembly that we would be able to provide live interpretation of an Indigenous language during our proceedings. I believe this would be an important step in advancing the Assembly's commitment to reconciliation. Accordingly, I am seeking leave of the House to allow the Assembly to provide live interpretation of languages other than English and French spoken by members during proceedings of the House and committees. Under this agreement, a member wishing to address the House or a committee in another language, 1, must provide adequate notice to the clerk of the language they wish to speak so that the appropriate interpretation translation services can be arranged. 2, must provide notice 90 minutes before the commencement of the House sitting to members of other recognized parties and independent members. Please note that the Assembly will endeavor to provide these services for all requests, but in some cases this may not be possible in the event of a lack of available interpreters. These provisions will remain in effect until the end of the second session of the 43rd Legislature. Is there leave? Leave has been granted, and I thank the House for this bold step into the future. And now, as previously announced, we will resolve into Committee of Supply.
Got your gavel if you want.
Will the Committee of Supply please come to order? This section of the Committee of Supply will now consider the estimates of the Department of Justice. Does the Honourable Minister have an opening statement? The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I'd like to start the committee this afternoon by thanking my critic, who I think is remaining as my critic. There was some question yesterday. I know people were a little bit confused about some of the changes that were made, and maybe just in seating order, but I do appreciate that he's continuing in this role, and hopefully we'll continue to have a good working relationship and continue to ensure that ultimately we're putting Manitobans first, even though we may disagree sometimes how we exactly go about that. Honourable Chair, I'd like to begin today just by talking a little bit about some of the work that we've done over the past 18 months, really since we've taken government and since I've been in this role. Really, as the member opposite knows, as Manitobans know, our primary focus has been on not only getting tough on the causes of crime, the root causes of crime over the long term. I, every single day, commend my colleagues, the Minister of Housing, Addictions and Homelessness, the Minister of Families, the Minister of Education, and the work that they do, that long-term work of making our community a safer place by giving kids a meal in school, by making sure young moms have the resources that they need, by helping our most vulnerable who are on our streets find housing, find addictions treatment, and continue to support those in our society who need it most. We know that's all going to make a difference. What we also know, though, is that after 7.5 years of neglect, of cuts, of disrespect, that it's important to ensure that we're getting tough on crime as well. And so that's why within the Department of Justice, we've instituted a number of important initiatives, usually partnering with law enforcement or other existing partners in this space, but also listening to the experts, listening to those on the front lines who have good ideas and can give us good advice. And what that has equated to is a substantial increase in the budget for the Department of Justice. It's equated to additional resources being provided, as I said, in partnership with municipalities and with law enforcement. And really what it's been about is acknowledging the concern that people have around public safety and ensuring that we're taking steps in the here and now to ensure that they understand that their government stands with them and continues to make the kinds of changes that will make our community safer today. So in that regard, we started off immediately by investing and committing to 24 new Winnipeg police officers to be deployed throughout our city for a community policing model that we know has seen results. And we, of course, started by initiating our retail theft initiative in the spring of last year. Realized that we were getting some good results, heard initial reports from the WPS that we were getting good results. So we extended that through the summer months, into the fall, and of course into the holiday season. And what we saw was that we had made a major impact when it comes to retail theft. We know that there were anecdotal reports. Of course, the member opposite has heard these as well. He's heard from business owners who have said it's a different kind of policing model and it's a different way of approaching it. It's made a difference. And we're also seeing that in the statistics that we're seeing coming through. We're also, of course, now adding these additional officers, 12 in the fall, 12 more in the spring. And we know that that's going to make a difference. That's really committing to that long-term commitment to the WPS. We're also, of course, we moved very quickly on our 5-point bail reform plan, which included $3 million for 12 new WPS officers specifically for bail enforcement. Again, bringing that total altogether up to 36 provincially funded WPS CPS officers. Again, this is in contrast to the previous government who saw a net loss of 55 officers here in the city of Winnipeg. We know this will make a difference. But we're also adding, again, following the National Police Federation's recommendations, by adding additional money for data intelligence sharing, $500,000, $500,000 for bail supervision that's being done directly through the department. All of this adds up, as I said, to a $903 million increase to the Department of Justice, a 9.2% increase, and that's really a huge number, $76 million over last year, which was already record funding, including 28% for law enforcement, now another 2%, and going forward, that very specific commitment around an escalator that was so sorely missed under the previous government. But we're not stopping there. We, of course, had the very successful home security rebate program, $2 million that was flowed directly to Manitobans to help protect their own property, but of course, the larger community as well. We're now expanding that. $10 million being directly supplied to businesses who are seeing repeat activity in their shops. That's security rebate, that's repairs. This is a kind of program that's going to make a big difference, and it's modeled after other provinces. We've also gone further when it comes to areas like border security, a $5 million investment on border security. This comes directly from the threat that Donald Trump has placed on our economy and on the sovereignty of Canada. But I think it also speaks to our government's focus on going after drug dealers and organized crime. Of course, we know that any kind of interprovincial or international drug organized crime movement needs to be nipped in the bud. And so we're ready to work with the federal government. We've put our money on the table. We also know that there's an additional increase to our support for Manitoba First Nations Police Service, $7 million, and an additional $5.3 million for provincial policing. That's $3.3 million for our CMP emergency response team, $2 million for an operational communication center. These are additional resources, again, in addition to the work that we did in Swan River. We're partnering with the City of Thompson. We partnered with the City of Brandon. Of course, the member opposite's going to, I'm sure today, talk a lot about the actual real dollars that are being flowed to Brandon to make sure that we can support not only their work around the downtown, but support law enforcement in general in Brandon. First, $11.9 million for First Nations and Inuit policing program. First Nations Safety Officer program has been incredibly successful. We're going to be expanding that. $2 million to continue our highly successful security rebate program, as I mentioned, and additional money for surveillance equipment and enhanced money laundering tools that we'll be employing. Now, this is I have to admit, Honorable Chair, this is a very long list of work that we've been doing in our department. And I would probably could take the rest of the afternoon just talking through this. I think we're going to have, and I hear other members saying maybe we should just have leave, and maybe we could do that. But I do want to respect the process. I think I'll have an opportunity to touch on some of these items in our in the afternoon in the questions that we get. But I want to end on this, and that is that, we are very focused on, as I said, getting tough on crime, and we know that what that means in the here and now is support for our law enforcement. We've been steadfast in that commitment, and that has started right from the top, from the Premier and his specific commitments to law enforcement, even before being elected as Premier, but certainly has carried through in his time in office. And he's done an incredible job of sending that message that we stand behind the boys and girls in blue, and that we are supporting them not just in those words, but in real dollars and financial support. They're doing good work. We know that with the support of the province, unlike the previous government who froze for 7.5 years, froze funding for law enforcement. Some would call that a cut. Some would call that defunding. I don't like using divisive language, but what I will say is that in real dollars, in a real sense, this is showing the commitment of the provincial government. We're going to continue to do that work. We are pedal to the metal on this. We're not going to stop to make sure that Manitobans feel safer. But I believe that through this concerted effort that we've taken over the last 18 months that we're starting to make a difference. And we're going to continue to do that work. And I hope that the member opposite will you know, give kudos where they're due, not to me, but to the law enforcement community that has done such a great job in partnering with us. And hey, maybe even the civil servants in the Department of Justice who are doing a heck of a good job every single day in making sure that we're delivering on the commitments that we've made and on the priorities of Manitobans. So I look forward to the afternoon, and I'm sure there'll be some spirited questions. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
We thank the minister for those comments. Does the official opposition critic have any opening comments? The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chair, or Honourable Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to put some words on the record here on the opening statement. And I'll absolutely agree and throw my voice behind the work that's being done by all of our partners in law enforcement and the public servants that make sure that the wheels of justice keep moving. Unfortunately, sometimes under this government, they get a flat tire and has to be changed and maintenance done. And that's my job, to hold this government to account on this. And I'll absolutely also agree that we have varying views on law enforcement, on justice initiatives, and how it should be done. I know our government took a very strategic approach. Wasn't ad hoc, it wasn't thrown together in 2 minutes and tried to be sold for sound bites and clips. But, and I can speak as a professional on the front lines of law enforcement during that 7.5 years that the PC government was in government, and the relationships that were built and the support that was offered not only to myself as chief, but to Manitoba Association of Chiefs of Police, and by extension the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, and to all of the members within the law enforcement services, justice, corrections, security and safety. So I would like to thank the previous ministers, Heather Steffensen, Kelvin Gertson, Cliff Cullen, and Cameron Friesen, who were all...
Order, I'll just remind members we have to refer to other members by their constituency or their ministerial portfolio. The honourable member for Brandon West.
My apologies, I missed that. So Heather Steffensen, Cliff Cullen, Cameron Friesen, and of course the MLA for Steinbach, who served in that role. Interesting. I'll explore some of these as we go along. I'll touch on many of these items that the minister spoke about today during his opening statement, and particularly, $5 million towards border security. I know that Manitoba Conservation is a big part of that, and they're already struggling with resources to maintain our conservation and all of the areas that they're charged with, but instead this government has chosen to bring them to the border to secure the border rather than investing where that should be and into our wildlife and conservation. So again, thank you, Honourable Chair, for the opportunity to have some opening remarks, and I look forward to moving into questions, and I hope that this year we get more answers than political jargon as we move forward. Thank you.
We thank the critic from the official opposition for those remarks. Under Manitoba practice, debate on the minister's salary is the last item considered for a department. Accordingly, we shall now defer consideration of line item 4.1 bracket A contained in the resolution 4.1. At this time, we invite ministerial and opposition staff to enter the chamber, and I would ask the minister and critic to please introduce their staff in attendance. Minister, if you'd like to introduce the staff who are joining you.
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. With me, of course, is Deputy Minister Jeremy Akerstream, and of course, folks would know him. He's very well respected and doing a fantastic job as Deputy Minister within the department. Our Assistant Deputy Minister, Owen Ferguson, is with us as well, and so we'll be happy to bring in other officials from the department as necessary. If the critic can give us a bit of a heads up, we're happy to do that, but of course we thought Owen is so very capable that we'll start off with him and we'll see where the afternoon goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. If the critic would like to share which staff are joining him, the Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Super. Thank you, Honourable Chair. And joining me today is Mr. Shannon Martin. He is a researcher with our team here, and former MLA, very knowledgeable in government processes, and look forward to this. I would also like to note that I've had the opportunity to work with both the Deputy Minister and the Associate Deputy Minister, and very much respect the work that they do. Thank you.
In accordance with Sub-Rule 77, Bracket 15, during the consideration of departmental estimates, questioning for each department shall proceed in a global manner, with questions put on the resolutions once the official opposition critic indicates that questioning has concluded. The floor is now open for questions. The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I'm just wondering if the Minister can confirm that the organizational chart that is embedded in the supplemental estimates that was tabled yesterday is complete and up to date as of today.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. And I commend the member opposite for his eagle eye, because he may have noticed that there is potentially a mistake and I'm not sure the document that he has in front of him, but just checking back through our supplementary estimates material that was in front of us, and again, I'm not sure what was printed. There has been a change. The Assistant Deputy Minister for Courts has changed. It was Darcy Blackburn, and it is now Charlotte Price. So I'm not sure if he wants to check his documents. Looks like he's making an alteration there. So that would be one of the changes that we would note. Otherwise, with regards to the organizational structure of the department, there haven't been any changes with regards to the information that's been tabled.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. what political staff work out of the minister's office, or if not directly in the minister's office? I'm wondering if you can provide also members that are within his purview.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I don't believe that the member opposite has the printed list of those individuals, so I'll make sure, or I'll do my best to make sure that we are clear and precise in who is working in our office. First, I'll mention the Director of Ministerial Affairs is Peyton Veach. My special assistant is Kathleen Sutherland. The executive assistant, EA, is Acacia Westlake. And that covers the political staff that are working in my ministerial office. I believe that's what the member is asking about. Of course, we have staff in our constituency office as well. I'd be happy to put that on the record too if you'd like.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chair. And the second part of the question, does this include all political staff under your purview?
Just a gentle reminder that comments come through the Chair, the Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. It's a good reminder. Well, I would, I guess, just mention then my constituency assistant, who I don't, okay, I'm seeing the member opposite is shaking his head, so I think maybe that's not where he was going with that question. So, no, to be clear, those are the political staff that work in my ministerial office.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chair, and I'll make sure questions come through the Chair in the future here. I'm just wondering if the Minister could provide for us a breakdown of the salaries that are provided, as well as what pay scale that they're on for the political staff.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, apologize for the delay through you, Chair, for the committee. I think maybe part of the issue that we're getting hung up on is with regards to the salary range. Now, all of this information is available. These are OICs, Orders in Council, so these are publicly available documents. But if we are just looking to pull those together, that's going to take just a little bit of time. Just maybe a little bit of clarification. Is the member looking simply for the salaries? Again, those are publicly made, those are publicly available documents. And so we can certainly go on the website and pull those up for the member. It might be a little bit trickier if he's talking about those salary ranges, but so I guess I'm just offering through you, Chair, to the member opposite if he would like us to try to pull those together and just take a few minutes to do that, or if he'd prefer that we just move on and get that information to him.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I am looking for the ranges that the individuals are in, and classifications, I guess, like what the individuals are classified as and what the ranges are in that classification. Honourable Chair.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and once again, apologies to the committee. Just pulling this together and making sure that we've got this on the record. So just to make sure that we're looking at the order in council, we'll begin with the order in council for Peyton Veach. And this was dated September 25th, 2024. Peyton Veach is appointed to the position of Director of Ministerial Affairs with the classification of Senior Officer 3 with the salary range of $106,935 to $131,124 per year, and where applicable, a long service step to $133,697,000. The starting salary is $114,897, $4,404.38 biweekly, effective September 9th, 2024, with the terms and conditions as set out by the employment agreement. Peyton Veach is designated as being an employee within the meaning of the Civil Service Superannuation Act. The Chief of Staff is authorized to enter into an employment agreement with Peyton Veach respecting terms and conditions of employment. The appointment in paragraph 1 of Order in Council 389/2023 is revoked. The appointment in paragraph 1 of Order in Council 451/2023 is revoked. Just to be clear, to finish off the order in council, the authority is under the Public Services Act, which states appointment of political staff, 59(1). The Lieutenant Governor in Council may appoint persons for the purpose of A, acting in confidential capacity to the Executive Council or a member of the Executive Council, or B, providing special professional or technical expertise to the Executive Council or a member of the Executive Council. Terms and conditions of employment, 59(2). A person may be appointed by the Lieutenant Governor and Council on terms and conditions including remuneration authorized by order of and prescribed by the Lieutenant Governor and Council. And there is additional information for the Superannuation Act. But maybe I'll spare the member opposite that. He can certainly see the order in council. I think it's available on the Manitoba Government of Manitoba website. The next one is for the Special Assistant, Katie Sutherland. The order reads, Kathleen Sutherland is appointed to the position of Special Assistant to the Minister with the classification of Special Assistant to the Minister, SPM, with the salary range of $79,530 to $97,421,000 per year, and where applicable, a long service step to $99,369. The starting salary is $84,334,000. Sorry, let me read that again. The starting salary is $84,334, which is $3,232.78 biweekly, effective November 27th, 2024, with terms and conditions as set out in the employment agreement, et cetera, et cetera. Finally, Acacia Westlake, who was originally appointed as the correspondence assistant within within the President of the Executive Council's office. Acacia Westlake is appointed to the position of correspondence assistant within the classification of executive assistant to the minister, EXM, with a salary range of $62,167 to $74,253 per year, and where applicable, a long service step to $75,766. The starting salary is $62,167. That's $2,383.08 biweekly, and it's effective October 18th, 2023, with terms and conditions as set out in the employment agreement. Again, that is an order in council which pertain to Ms. Wesselake's appointment within the Premier's office. However, there are no changes to the salary range, that have changed as part of the order in council. And hopefully that answers the member opposite's question.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Thank you for that explanation, and appreciate that, Honourable Chair. My next question is, I'm wondering if the minister has any staff that are on secondment at the present time.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Okay, and I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing here. So for clarity, Honourable Chair, I'd just like to ask the member opposite if he could clarify, does he mean political staff? Does he mean staff within the minister's office? Does he mean any staff within the department? Of course, there's a lot of people that work in the Department of Justice, so that would take some undertaking. But if he could clarify, I'd be happy to get him that answer.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. My question, I should have made it more pointed, is any political staff on secondment?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Okay, that makes the question a lot easier, so I appreciate the clarification. No, there are no political staff that are currently on secondment in my office.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Keeping on the political staff theme, Honourable Chair, are there any vacancies, or is the minister anticipating any positions, adding any positions, or do they consider themselves fully staffed under the political staff?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
No, we are fully staffed at the moment, and we are not anticipating any additional positions. The staffing complement, I believe, is set, and as I said earlier, we have a Director of Ministerial Affairs, Special Assistant, and also an Executive Assistant who are all working in that capacity in my ministerial office.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Moving on, are there any additional political staff that work with the minister, such as communication staff, issues management, or other support roles?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Maybe I'll just get some clarification. Is the member opposite looking for a list of names of those folks that work within cabinet communications and various organizational groups within the support staff, or is he looking for? So is he looking for names, or is he looking for positions? Is he looking for? Maybe he can just clarify exactly what the information he's looking for is.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chair. Yes, I'm looking for names of people that work in those areas and that report to the minister or do work for the minister.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, I'll just maybe have to suggest through you again, Honorable Chair, that the question that's being asked is maybe outside of the purview of this estimates process. We are here to, of course, delve into the details within the Department of Justice, and we've got a lot to talk about the important work that's being done in the Department of Justice. With regards to the question that was asked, what the member opposite is essentially asking is a very long list of names, of positions, of individuals who work collectively together to help inform the work that's done, not just in the Department of Justice, but in every single department across government. Because while I have a number of staff that work, closely with us on any given day, that is not exclusive to just the staff that are with me each day. They work collectively, so that would be within the cabinet communications area, within our policy development area, within what we call issues management, or sort of the day-to-day structure of responding to inquiries by media and by others. So and it extends from there. And so it would be difficult for me to maybe put on the record every position within the structure that supports the communications that we do as a government and the work of the Executive Council. That being said, my understanding is that every single one of those positions is an order in council. So every one of those positions would be listed as a position that, again, we can find out the name of the individual, we can find out the salary range. All of that information would be is made public and would be available to the member opposite. If he's asking, though, specifically whether we only have sort of one individual who supports, for instance, the Department of Justice, in each of those areas, I would say no. It is collective. It is a work together in each of those areas. And quite frankly, these are staff people that do great work to ensure that we have all the information in front of us. And so in addition to the work that's done within the department, and again, through the Deputy's office, the important work that's done to inform us of the day-to-day operations within the department, we also have additional resources that, again, help us communicate to the media, et cetera. So if I can gently suggest then, again, through you, Chair, that it might be a better use of our time if the member opposite would find that those OICs, he saw how long it took to get the 3 OICs just within our own office. If we were to pull up every single OIC, that might take quite a bit of time. And so I would say that hopefully the time could be used better just asking specific questions about the Department of Justice or about the operations within my own office. I'm happy to answer those questions as well, and any substantive issues that he'd like more information about.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I appreciate that reply, understanding that this government has so many political staff that they can't even endeavor to name them all. However, I'll move on now to another area here. Wondering if the minister can explain the staffing breakdown of the deputy minister's office, as well as any vacancies at this time. And for clarity, I'm just looking for numbers. I'm not looking for names or positions or salaries or anything else, just the numbers and the vacancies.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. We've got the information here within the Deputy Minister's office. The Deputy Minister is, as I said, Jeremy Akerstream. The Senior Advisor within the Deputy Minister's office is Kim Prendergast. And then the Administrative Assistant to the Deputy Minister is Doreen Mohan. Oh, there's one more. I apologize. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Also within the Deputy Minister's office, the Executive Assistant to the Deputy Minister is Danita Chartrand.
The Honourable Member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. And just, I guess for clarity, under the Deputy Minister falls the ADMs, and then it cascades down from there. So just wondering if the Minister could let me know about the total number of positions under the Department of Justice and what the vacancy rate is.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and I think we have the information here. Of course, this is the information that's available in the estimates book that was tabled for the member opposite. Within corporate and strategic services, there are currently 106 FTEs. Within the Crown Law Division, there are 480.5 FTEs. Within Legislative Council, there are 34 FTEs. Within the Correctional Services, there are currently 1,857.35 FTEs. Within the Courts Division, there are 655.2 FTEs. Within the Public Safety Division, there are 220.8 FTEs. And the member opposite will note that that is a slight increase from the previous year, with additional positions and additional investments being made. The other question the member had was with regards to vacancy rates. Currently, the vacancy rate, the current vacancies Well, maybe I'll just start, Honorable Chair, just to be clear where we're starting from. So as of April 23 to February of 24, the vacancies were at 423.75. That's the number of vacancies that were that essentially when we came into government, those were that was the numbers we were working with. Currently, the current vacancies are at 375.29. So the member opposite will note that that is a significant decrease in the number of vacancies. However, this continues to be a challenge. We're continuing to ensure that within the department we're addressing the vacancy rate issue that we were left with and continuing to improve the department.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chair. With the vacancy rate that we have here, that's been noted by the Minister, I'm just wondering, under his portfolio, is there a targeted vacancy rate for vacancy management in that area?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the vacancies that we were, of course, left with. As I said, much higher vacancy rate within the department under the previous government. But to put a finer point on that, or I guess highlight some of the challenges that we walked into under the previous government, not only was the vacancy rate high, but the number of competitions that were being undertaken to fill those positions was low. So there was really no plan in place. There was no foresight about how to address that very serious concern around vacancies. What we're seeing now, and I have the number here in front of me for, again, the dates between April 1st, 2024 and February 28th, 2025, the number of competitions that we saw within that period of time was 469. And that is a much higher number than we saw under the previous government. At that point, it was 221. And so we know that not only was the vacancy rate higher under the previous government, but also, unfortunately, there was no plan or no action being taken to address that very high vacancy rate. We have undertaken a number of steps to ensure that we're getting the right people for the right jobs, and quite frankly, it starts right at the top. It starts with the record investments that we're making in the Department of Justice, led by our Premier and with the direction of the people of Manitoba, who have told us that they want to see public safety, they want to see the administration of justice done in a way that shows them confidence in their communities. That work that our fantastic employees are doing in the Department of Justice is being supported by this government, and that's why we're addressing the vacancy rate left to us by the previous government. We're bringing the vacancy rate down, and we're continuing to build up the department through this specific initiative when it comes to the number of competitions that we're running for these positions. That being said, Honorable Chair, I think the question was about targets and about where we want to be. Well, we want to continually improve. So I would say that there's no target other than a complete elimination of any vacancies whatsoever. Of course, the member opposite understands that's not necessarily realistic, especially with a staffing complement as large as we have within the Department of Justice, but also the nature of some of the work and the sort of mobility of some of the employees that we have. That being said, we're continuing to bring that number down, and our focus is on bringing that number down to ensure that we have the right people in the right jobs and that we're filling those positions as quickly as possible.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, or Honourable Chair. Appreciate the opportunity again to get these clarifying questions answered. 469 competitions over that is a huge number of competitions. So I'm assuming people are fleeing the department and they're quite worried about what's happening under this minister's reign. But that's probably why so many competitions over that time is to fill the vacancies that are being left by the staff that are fleeing. But moving on, the Provincial Retail Crime Initiative continues to be a requirement. In order to have a safe and thriving retail community, it's critical for Manitoba's well-being. Also for our economy at large to make sure that it's thriving. And last year, a number of businesses specifically cited retail theft as the reason for their closure or for their relocation. My question is, does the department track business closures due to retail theft and crime?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and I really do, that the member opposite is seeing the value of the retail theft initiative, and I think that's a change, because what I heard from him last year, despite, of course, as I said earlier in my opening statement, the anecdotal response from the business community. And from law enforcement about the kind of work that they were doing. Despite all of that, in leading into the fall last year, we heard nothing but criticism from the member opposite about the initiative. And at that time, it seemed to be that he thought that this was not a worthwhile endeavor or initiative by government and law enforcement. I guess that's because he's still getting advice from the former Justice Minister, who never took any action when it comes to retail theft. It just sat on his hands. This problem, of course, of shoplifting and retail theft and retail crime had been growing year after year after year after year under the previous government. And they took no action whatsoever. And of course, as a candidate who supported Heather Stephenson, again, another failed justice minister, the member opposite will note, I guess he took his marching orders and he said, well, okay, that's, I guess I've got to be against this. Despite the overwhelming evidence from, as I said, anecdotal evidence from business owners, from the community, from the public, and then also from the WPS. It seems to me now he's turning over a new leaf. He's maybe taking a different approach, and that would be good, because I hope that he is paying very close attention to the kind of information that we're continuing to get from law enforcement. What we heard, and I put these numbers on the record I think in the past, but the total arrests under the Retail Crime Initiative, 981. The total engagements with business and community members, 8,462. Recovered merchandise, we're talking about $122,000 in recovered merchandise from law enforcement through the Retail Crime Initiative. The number of tickets that were issued as Provincial Offence Act tickets, 224. These are significant numbers, and what this shows us is that, of course, now the data is starting to show that the increased enforcement is starting to make it, have an impact on the numbers that we're seeing. It's made a difference. But again, I'll just go back to that response from the business community. They're saying thank you. They're saying thank you that we're starting to see a government that will act and that will start to take this stuff seriously. We've got endorsements, of course, from the Retail Council of Canada. We know that the work that we did through our security rebate program was utilized by business, but now we're supercharging that. We're building on what we rolled out before, and we're building on that program to a point where businesses are going to be able to access that specifically through a specific stream. These are the kinds of initiatives that businesses have told us are going to make a real difference. And again, we can talk about the anecdotal, we can have a political discussion about whether the member opposite now believes that this is a good idea or whether he still thinks it's a bad idea. We can, again, he can believe the anecdotal evidence, the reports in the newspapers and the reports in the media of the effectiveness of this program. Heck, I'd encourage him to just sit down with one of the officers, as I have done, who are actually patrolling the streets. Who are saying, this makes a big difference. I'm not just responding, I'm not just being reactive to the crime that we're seeing, but I'm being proactive, and I'm working with businesses, and I'm listening to those shop owners. I'm understanding their dynamics about what's happening on the streets, and now I'm bringing that into the places where people are shopping. Again, he can discount all of that, or he can trust all of that. What I do know is that the facts are going to catch up with him, and ultimately he's going to have to acknowledge that this is working, that the numbers that we're seeing here are real and they're making a big difference. Now, to his question about the number of businesses that open or close in the province of Manitoba, I would suggest that might be a question that he can ask in the Department of Business, Mining, Trade, and Job Creation. I think I got that right. I did better than the speaker did earlier. I know I shouldn't reflect on the speaker's work, but I know it's a challenge for all of us to make sure we get all of that acronym right. But there may be further information he can glean about how many businesses are opening, and of course our economy is starting to recover from the dark days of the PC government, but he could potentially get that information there where we're focused on the safety in our community.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chair. Again, the question was not about arrests. It wasn't about what's been recovered and the work of the Winnipeg Police Service, who I'll put on record does fantastic work. All of our police services across Manitoba do absolutely fantastic work. But I was wondering about the tracking of business closures, and I know he's referring to another area of his government. However, you know, if it helps, 7-Eleven talked about or indicated that they're closing at least a dozen stores here because of retail crime and retail theft. So I'm just wondering, do we have an idea of how many have closed due to retail theft or the retail crime?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, I appreciate the question, and I'm not sure if he's asking specifically about one business or another. And you know, again, you know, there's probably a number of businesses that, you know, over the, as I said, dark days of the PC government probably saw Manitoba as not a friendly place for business. But more importantly, I think that there was certainly a climate of, I don't know, I could characterize it as disrespect. I think I'd probably go that far. But at the very least, a lack of listening or responding to concerns. Now, I've been very clear about that. When it comes to our department, we can talk about all the challenges, the roadblocks that were put up under the previous government for business in Manitoba. We saw our economy struggle because of those, the lack of support and investments. But if we're talking specifically about the Department of Justice, what I think the member opposite, and again, you know, earlier he seemed to concede the fact that this is an important initiative, that business has been responsive to this, that they see the value in this, and that, you know, we're continuing, not just resting on our laurels, not just saying, you know, a $2 million security rebate program was good enough. We've now expanded it to include a specific stream for businesses. You know, asked for, quite frankly, for years under the previous government. They didn't respond or react in any way. We have Restaurants Canada coming out, Restaurants Manitoba, who's been, again, calling for this for years and now says that they're very pleased with this. The Retail Council of Canada is a very strong partner of ours. They help to bring together business and retailers and a number of folks in our retail summit that we had. I think, in fact, the member opposite, I think, was there at the retail summit. I think he stuck around for a beverage afterwards. In fact, he's nodding his head. He stuck around and he had that drink, so that's great. Because I think what he heard from business owners there was just a real frustration under the previous government that the crime rates were going up every single year. Every year under the previous government, they went up and up and up, specifically, and he was stroking his chin now. The numbers don't lie, the Honourable Speaker. And I'm surprised he doesn't know this. He was in law enforcement. He knows the rates were going up specifically when he was chief of police. So this isn't, you know, we're not, again, this isn't some kind of like political discussion. And, you know, the facts don't lie. This is as clear as day. The crime rate was going up under the previous government. Now, of course, we can argue, well, they buried their head in their sand when it came to the addictions crisis. They buried their heads when it came to the homelessness situation, the housing crisis, the situation with our child welfare system, the education system that was cut year over year. I mean, we can go through the sort of the litany of reasons why, but the fact that the crime rate was increasing, and specifically shoplifting, specifically issues for retailers, violence that people in retail and in restaurants and in other businesses were facing. No action whatsoever. Never once did the members opposite lift a finger. So we come in and we've brought in our retail crime initiative. As I said, total arrests 781, total engagements 8,275, recovered merchandise huge, $100,000. Between November 1st and December 28th, WPS officers engaged with 187 retailers, arrested 200 individuals, and recovered $56,000 just in that period of stolen property. This is just a snapshot. Now, the member opposite is going to hear more about the good work that's being done by WPS, by law enforcement across the province. But just to highlight the specific initiative, we saw a real improvement for retailers, a reaction from government, a support posture rather than one of closed doors and fingers in ears. We are taking action as a government. This is a big challenge that's been left to us. We're eyes wide open on that fact. But we're going to continue to take these steps, and we believe that by taking these steps, we're going to see results. We're going to see results because of the work of whole of government, but specifically in the Department of Justice, additional funding and additional programs that support law enforcement are going to make a difference. And the member opposite can now just say he supports this initiative. Maybe he says he wants more of it. We can talk about that.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chair, and 5 minutes exactly to answer a question that is, no, I don't track that data, which, and I'm not surprised that the minister or his department doesn't track that data with all of the closings of stores and retail outlets within the Premier's own riding. And, of course, they don't want to track that data and all the negativity that's coming from that lack of retail crime response that's happened since this government has been governing, and a year and a half, almost 2 years now. The number of businesses that have closed in Fort Rouge and across Winnipeg is actually alarming. So my question, Honourable Chair, is if this minister does not know the number of closures, how can he measure the results or actually take the necessary actions that are required if he doesn't do a data-driven approach?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, I appreciate the question from the member opposite, Honourable Chair. It sounds to me like potentially he has some data about the number of businesses in the province of Manitoba that have opened in the past 18 months versus the number of businesses that have closed in the last 18 months. And if he has that information, again, I think that might be information that's tracked through the Department of BMJTC. JC. And if he has that data already, then he can certainly share it with the estimates process with the committee here today. And he can certainly put that on the record. What we've been focused on is listening to businesses, listening to retailers, and listening to, again, restaurants and a number of folks who have seen the deterioration under the past 7.5 years of the Heather Stephenson government. We saw things get worse. We saw crime rates go up. And by tracking that information and seeing that, I mean, we hear it every single day when, members opposite, they heard it too. We brought this up when we were in opposition, that the members opposite were doing nothing. But what we wanted to focus on was how could we take that data, how could we use that information that we saw as those crime rates were going up, and help leverage the work that was already being done by law enforcement in the city of Winnipeg, in the city of Brandon, in the city of Thompson, and across the province. So what we did is we listened to law enforcement. We didn't dictate how they deployed resources or where they were using the resources. We trust the experts, we trust the information that they have, and we enabled them to then go out and do that kind of policing that, again, I'd hope the member opposite would see the value in, the kind of work that's proactive and that's rather than being reactive, that's listening to retailers and working directly with them. Do we know it's working? Well, we do, because we're starting to see the information come back. We hear it anecdotally. We even hear it from, the member opposite had mentioned 7-Eleven. Well, 7-Eleven wrote a letter to us supporting our retail crime initiative. Like, they see the value in this. Now, has everything, have we gotten it all right? No, we're continuing to work on this. This is why we're continuing to move our feet when it comes to additional resources, supporting law enforcement and supporting those initiatives. But we're continuing to ensure that the high rate of retail crime that was present for 7.5 years and getting worse every single year, that it was being addressed through these kinds of initiatives. What we're starting to see, Honorable Chair, is we're starting to see, some progress and some additional, again, anecdotal, but also the information that's coming through. I'm hoping that that'll be made available to the member opposite soon. That information is being gathered and tracked every single day, and we're going to continue to listen to retailers. We've done that. Of course, we have good advice coming to us every single day. We're going to continue to listen to retailers, and we know that this is going to make a difference if we listen to businesses and we listen to their specific concerns. When it comes to the member opposite, if he's got some information that he wants to share with the committee, I would really appreciate that he does that. I would suggest that, the member could talk to the minister. Well, I guess the estimates process, maybe he's in another room. I'm not actually sure who's answering questions right now, but he could certainly talk to that minister. He can ask those questions when that minister is made available. But what he's probably going to find is that minister is laser focused as well on supporting businesses. He knows that we're continuing to work in our department and the Department of Justice, but we're going to do that in collaboration with other departments to ensure that we're creating a solid business atmosphere here in the province of Manitoba. And, when it comes to, again, that support for law enforcement, that's going to be always our starting point, and it's going to be our end point. We trust the work that the law enforcement is doing, and we're making sure that we're supporting them. Again, in real terms, 28% increase last year, 2% escalator going forward. That's making a real difference. But going a step further with the WPS, 12 officers last year, 12 new officers this year, and 12 more for bail. Again, these are real investments never done under the previous government. 55 net officers lost under the previous government. It's his record, and he should answer for it here today.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. And a lot of this information is available public data on closures and on new starts and everything else. And I'm surprised that the minister would ask me to provide that information when, earlier he mentioned that he has tens of thousands of political staff at his fingertips, that so many that he couldn't even name them all, that could easily do this research instead of relying on my time and efforts that I put forward looking at this research. So I'm used to this sort of ask, Honourable Chair. It's been a common thread from this government to rely on the previous PC government to answer their questions and to make sure that they're aware of what is happening across the landscape in Manitoba. So moving forward a little bit on the retail crime, wondering if the minister could answer for us specifically on the funding that he provided the Winnipeg Police Service. How much funds were given to the Winnipeg Police Service, and were these funds used prior to the end of that fiscal year?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I'd like to thank the member opposite for the question. What I'm hoping to do is to be able to give the information that I have in front of me to him. This will be the bulk of the money that's flowed, but you know, as we're pulling this together, I'm recognizing that there is a number of different baskets of, or maybe not the right term, but different initiatives that we fund independent of the overall basket funding that's provided to WPS, to law enforcement across the province, but in this case, the municipality of, or the city of Winnipeg, and the specific money that's flowed for law enforcement. So the total public safety basket funding for WPS in budget 2024 was $24.2 million. Okay. And that is an increase of, do we have that number? About $500K extra. Okay, $500,000 more this year. Of course, last year, it was a major increase, 28% increase last year. So that number, of course, jumped quite a bit. This is the, as I said, basket funding that's provided to law enforcement. But of course, the member opposite knows that we've earmarked $3 million for 12 new officers who are coming in June, and $3 million for the fall around the Bail Initiative. He also knows that the Retail Crime Initiative total was $1.94 million. So that's additional on top of the funding that was for that specific project. And that the increase in budget 2024 was $5.3 million. So very significant increase that was implemented in that budget year. All this to say, as I said, 28% increase last year's budget, 2% this year. Additional money for these individual initiatives. What this adds up to is a real, as I said, in real dollar terms, a commitment to law enforcement that is unprecedented, had never been seen before, I would say, under any government, but for sure was never seen under the previous Heather Stephenson PC government, because we know during that time, law enforcement was told they were getting zeros, they were getting freezes, and that's not just the city of Winnipeg, it was all law enforcement. But I mean, I would suggest that in the city of Winnipeg, it was a significant challenge for them to, you know, a growing population, a growing city, you know, again, increasing crime rates under the previous government. They did nothing. They sat on their hands and they refused to even have a basic escalator built in. And so what that left us with was year over year of freezes and flat funding commitments that left us in a hole and left us without proper resources for law enforcement. So again, I don't use the divisive language that the member opposite does. But if you want to actually talk about what defunding the police actually looks like,
you could point to Heather Stephenson and the PC government, because that was the approach that they took. But we've taken a different approach. We've made the commitment of course, in our campaign commitments, in the mandate letter, in the work that I do every single day with law enforcement. I'm very clear about our unwavering support for the work that they do in protecting our communities, and we want to continue to support them. But we do that not just in those words, not just in one-off slogans or in divisive language that the members opposite do. We actually do it in dollars and cents terms, and this is the representation of it. He sees the information directly in front of him. Now, his other question was whether the money is flowed to the WPS and whether they use that money. Well, I guess you could talk to them about exactly some of the details with regards to how they use that money. What I would say is yes, that money is flowed out of our department, is fully spent, and we know that it's going to the benefit of all Manitobans to make communities safer.
Member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chair, and welcome to the Chair. Hearing about defund the police, just talking about this government, I've actually had the opportunity to speak with all of my colleagues that I presently sit with in this PC caucus, and every single one of them supported the police, and I specifically said, did any of you walk in marches or go into protests about defunding the police? And I can say that nobody on the PC side did that, and I'm not too sure if the member opposite has canvassed his caucus, but I'm not convinced that they could say the same thing. So talking about defunding the police is really just a little bit of political rhetoric coming from this minister, and actually quite honestly hypocrisy when we talk about that. So I did get in that 5 minutes response the answer I was looking for, $1.94 million to the Winnipeg Police Service. So again, regarding retail crime. So again, if I look at those numbers, retail crime is not just a Winnipeg-specific issue, and I think we can all agree on that. There are 12 recognized police services in Manitoba, not including CN, CP Police. And lastly, the third largest, Manitoba Police, or Manitoba First Nations Police Service, is also included in that. So what is being offered, or what was offered to these police services, or are they just left to fend for themselves when it comes to finances for retail crime?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, I think the member opposite's question, I think, clearly highlights and puts on full display for the people of Manitoba exactly what his priorities are. Because, as he's continuing to talk about this divisive rhetoric, this divisive language. And you know, I mean, he's got a new leader now who's thanking Trump, who's questioning the human rights code in Manitoba as his first priority. I mean, these are the kinds of things that just really highlight the kind of division that his party is is synonymous with now by this point. But I think, again, it highlights exactly the kinds of positions that the member opposite is bringing to this legislature. He talks out of one side of his mouth. He says, well, I checked with everybody, and everyone said they were in support of police. Did he ask the member for Steinbach? Did he say, well, member for Steinbach, why did you freeze and cut police over the years that you were justice minister? When Heather Stephenson was in this place, did he say, Heather Stephenson, while I was out working as a Brandon police officer, you cut my funding? Did he ask her that? Yeah. I mean, I think the silence speaks volumes, Honourable Chair. The silence speaks volumes because it's just political theatre. It's show. If we want to talk about actual support, we can look at the numbers and we can see that the support that we've given, not only to the WPS, but throughout this province, is real. These are real dollars, and it shows a real commitment for law enforcement in the province of Manitoba. I mean, let's just talk about the city of Brandon. Member Opposite is very well aware of the cuts that he saw under Heather Stephenson. He knows exactly what those cuts were, and he can either come clean about that, or he can continue to try to change the channel and use divisive rhetoric. We could talk about $100,000 that was flowed to the city of Brandon for a downtown safety initiative. We can talk about the additional funding, $85,000 for their initiative in Brandon, their retail crime initiative. 70 arrests. $10,000 in property that was recovered for the people of Brandon. But it doesn't stop there. Where does it go? It goes to the city of Thompson, you know, our crime suppression unit. We, of course, announced that in the budget, but the work started much before that because we spent $50,000 supporting the city of Thompson and their downtown strategy around safety. $250,000 for the crime suppression unit. We went out to Swan River, you know, supported their GIS. This work is happening everywhere in the province. It is continuing to go across this province, support RCMPs, support local police, support the WPS, support the BPS, and the kind of rhetoric that he continues to bring to this chamber, I thought maybe there was going to be a change in tone. And I don't know why I thought that, because again, the member from Fort White was the face of the anti-trans campaign during the election. That was his big issue that he wanted to bring. Hey, let's put in jeopardy the safety of trans kids. That's what he hung his political hat on in the last election. He also, of course, went on record saying, thank you, Trump. Thank you, Trump, he says multiple times. Thank you, Donald Trump, for your tariffs. You know, the member opposite's laughing. I don't think the people who come to this building and take a picture in front of that Canadian flag would, you know, I don't think that they thought it was a laughing matter when the member for Fort White said, thank you to Donald Trump for your tariffs. So he's an expert in divisive language, but I did think, because he comes in here and says, new tone, new day, different attitude, well, then he can do that. I would appreciate that he'd come in here and he'd set the member for Brandon West straight, because he can maybe call to a little bit of decorum on the member to say, stop using divisive language. We're past that. Manitobans want to see unity. They believe in the message of one Manitoba, and they want to see when we say we're going to do something, that we actually do it. The numbers that we're talking about here show very clearly our government's commitment, and the member opposite has no leg to stand on, because he joined a government that for 7.5 years froze and cut police funding across the province.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chair. And the minister is right on one thing there. I did join a government that certainly supports law enforcement and certainly was there for law enforcement and wasn't advocating for the defunding of police at that time. But you know what? Those are in the past, and maybe the honourable minister's government has learned from those mistakes, and I'm hoping that has certainly happened. So. All of that, 5 minutes, and I got the one answer I was looking for, $85,000 to Brandon Police Service on the retail crime, $1.94 million to the Winnipeg Police Service, but outside of Brandon and Winnipeg, the other 10 municipal police services. I'm just wondering what the dollar figure is for specifically for retail crime initiative, not any of the other initiatives that the minister brought forward and what he's funded and what actually hasn't come to fruition, although they've done a lot of announcements. How many dollars have gone to those other municipal agencies such as, but not limited to, Altona, Winkler, Morden, Springfield? I'll expand it to the RCMP, Manitoba First Nations, Victoria Beach, St. Anne, the RM of Cornwallis, just to name some. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. And, I think the member opposite, first let's address what he first said. It couldn't be more clear that the kind of support that we're talking about for law enforcement is real. It's not just words. It's not just slogans that he wants to spout off in the House. It's actual results. And I guess he gets that from his new leader.
You know, he wants to defend the record of Heather Stephenson, and I think we've seen where that's led us in this province, worsening crime rates overall, not just in the city of Winnipeg, but across this province. That's his record, and you know, so he can use the kind of divisive rhetoric that we've heard from Donald Trump and others. But I think if we're talking about real results and real commitment, what we're seeing here is exactly that. And so while I've talked a lot about that 30% increase over 2 years now to law enforcement and their basket funding, it is important to note, and he's touched on an important issue here, that we are listening to municipalities, listening to local law enforcement across the province in a way that was just never done under the previous government. We've traveled to, you know, across this province. We've made sure that we're listening. You know, he scoffs at the crime suppression unit in Thompson, or he thinks that the GIS isn't a good idea. I think he should go up to the town of Swan River, and he should have a conversation with the folks in the Swan Valley about whether they think more law enforcement. He calls it a pittance, or what he makes fun of. Manitobans don't need more funding. That's what he said. No more funding announcements. Why do they just keep getting funding announcements from this government? I mean, it just boggles the mind that we're listening to local law enforcement, listening to communities, investing in those projects, and yet he scoffs at them, he makes fun of them, and he belittles the people who have done the work to bring this to government, and now we're supporting that. But to answer his specific question, because he's bringing up there is law enforcement good initiatives that are being undertaken across this province. And so, you know, I don't want to diminish or in any way undersell the work that's being done across, you know, many law enforcement agencies in this province. And so that's why we have our joint forces project funding, which is $970,000 that's been flowed. Let's just look at some of the projects that they've undertaken. Project Outburst with the WPS, Project Gauge, Project Blockade, which was a Brandon Police Service initiative, $11,000 flowed to that project. In the city of Winkler, the Winkler Police Service, Project Recoil, $27,517 flowed to support that initiative. In Morden, $3,727. In Altona, $746. Let's go down the list. In Morden, $49,000 for initiatives and additional projects that they've listed there. The initiative out of Brandon, which we funded to the tune of $3,500. The list goes on and on, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Chair. Project Puma in Winkler Police Service. I mean, is he aware of these additional initiatives that are being brought to this strategic Joint Forces Project initiative? And does he understand that these are making a real difference in public safety? $974,110 that's been flowed to these additional initiatives. That's on top of the basket funding, which has increased now significantly in the province, 28% in budget 2024, with a guaranteed escalator, and budget 2025, another 2%. Overall funding in 23-24 was $43,614. It's now in budget 2025, $58,493,000. This is a huge increase and a real commitment to law enforcement. It's not just words, like the member opposite just continues to want to put on the record. He wants to divide Manitobans and make them think that there's some kind of division, maybe in his own caucus or maybe in his own mind. What he knows is that under the previous government there were cuts to law enforcement, and now today we're showing record funding increases. He needs to answer for that. He needs to say, is that defunding the police? Does he believe that that's defunding the police? Less money, is that defunding the police? It's a simple question.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Chair. And moving on to a different topic here, because not once did I hear of those numbers that this was for retail crime. Police are engaged in projects all the time, And, specifically, the question was about retail crime. So outside of Brandon and Winnipeg, that number is 0. So moving to this next question, very sensitive for a number of people in the community, but earlier this year, James Hilton was involved in a motor vehicle crash, and as a result, the life of Kelly Verwey was taken, and of course, the entire community of Portage La Prairie and all of Manitoba was deeply concerned with what happened here, and I know collectively our hearts go out to the family, and very difficult. But I've just very recently heard from the community that this individual, who had a lengthy criminal history and had been in breach of his orders, was released from custody. And I'm just wondering, under the minister's watch, if he can confirm this for the community or alleviate this concern as to whether or not
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, first of all, Honourable Chair, it just gives us another opportunity to express the condolences, as the member opposite has said, from all members of this House. You know, just devastating, not just to the community, but I think to every Manitoban. Kelly Verway's death was an absolute tragedy, and we're deeply saddened by it. And I think the action that we took as a legislature collectively, I think, spoke to that concern. I feel very privileged that I was able to join with the Premier in a meeting with the family to hear directly their concerns, and maybe this is a topic that we can pick up on the other side of the day, just because we have officials that we'd like to bring in, but I believe there's a protocol to bring them in to answer the member's question more fully when we do have an opportunity. But maybe I'll just say at this point that it's an absolute tragedy, one that the Premier took very dear to his heart and used, that experience, that heartbreak to bring all premiers together to call for bail reform at the federal level.
Order. The hour being 5 p.m. Committee rise and call on the Speaker. The hour being 5 p.m., the House is adjourned and stands adjourned until 1:30 p.m. tomorrow.